I'm Dave Martin.
And I'm Glenn Hayward, and this is Under the Hood with Glenn and Dave.
How you doing there, man?
Doing fantastic.
So, you got a used car to sell me?
I do. I got a whole bunch of them, and that, this is going to be our topic for today. So many people have been burned by buying a used car in some parking lot somewhere.
We've got 100 stories that we could tell
Oh my
people that
God.
bought cars,
Yeah,
didn't get them pre-checked out, and are regretting it.
absolutely. So I guess, part of it is just ignorance, not knowing that there are places that actually do pre-purchase inspections on vehicles, good shops.
Yeah, and I know one of the stories I've got, and no matter what the person selling the car says to you, it's certified. They say whatever they want. They tell you it's all been checked out, it's all been certified. Do your due diligence and get the car inspected. I have a story. I had a young lady that brought her car into me, and she brought it from one of the dealerships, and they said it was certified and all this other stuff. And but
Maybe it was certifiable.
certifiable, man, it could be right. So she brought it to us, and it looked like the person that owned it before drove it like they stole it or something, because the whole underneath the struts and the shocks and the transmission was leaking. There was a lot of issues underneath there, and she took it back and they made it right, which was good on them. But the point is that sometimes uh, you got to do your own homework. You got to do your due diligence. Otherwise, you could get yourself in a real pickle to where you got a car that you just paid a lot of money for, and you got rid of your old car because you didn't want to put the money into it and you wanted to upgrade. Well, it turns out it's a downgrade, and you definitely don't want to do that.
Right. Well, my dad always used to tell me that, don't rush into buying anything before you check it out and make sure that it's in good condition. And if you're not a person who's qualified, or even make the consideration, oh, it's shiny, and the upholstery is clean and the carpets look good, looks like it's been pretty well taken care of, open the hood and there's not oil all over the place, it's probably going to be a good car, right? No.
No, because you can make a car look really, really good. And I've seen some cars that were wrecked on the outside; they looked amazing. But you got to remember, when the car's been wrecked, it's got to be put back to the way it was original, because that's when way it was crash tested. And the next time it gets in a crash, it may not crumble the way it's supposed to.
Right. And so, what does the word certified really mean? It's just something that somebody puts out there. This is a
Marketing.
certified.
It's marketing.
It's a marketing play. It
Yeah,
doesn't mean that someone really checked it out.
yeah.
Or maybe the tech looked at, oh crap, another certified. Okay, we'll check off all the boxes and put it out on the lot. Or it's just like you said, it's just a tag. It's just a term that people are using
Yeah.
to build confidence when they're about to scam you. So what I really like to tell people to do is go to a shop that has digital inspections. And I don't care. We actually would love for the present owner of the car to come along and accompany them so that they can really see whether the car is as good as what they're advertising it to be. And we've done that many times. And I'm telling you, the shock of some of the stuff that we've shown owners of vehicles on their own car that they're about to sell, when it needed $3,000-$4,000 worth of work that they weren't even aware of, because they were so used to driving it the way it was, they thought everything was fine.
Right, and keep us in the conversation. If you're one of my clients, I want to be in that conversation with you looking for a new vehicle. We want to help you, steer you down the road to get a vehicle that's reliable, that isn't going to cost you a fortune to fix it, it isn't going to give you a lot of problems. So we want to make sure that we're in that, and making sure you buy the right vehicle for you. Obviously, we know you want a vehicle that fits your needs, your lifestyle, whether you have kids, whether you're in a band or whatever, and you got a bunch of stuff that you got to haul. So you want to make sure you buy that. You get the vehicle that fits your needs. But there's a lot of different choices out there. And a lot of people ask me all the time, they go, well, will they let me bring it to you to check over the vehicle? And I go, yeah, 99% of the people that are
If they
selling
won't
this,
run like hell, put on your track shoes and
yep,
run like
absolutely,
hell,
yeah.
because you know what?
That's what we tell them. Yep.
They're trying to sell a lemon, and you don't want to be the sucker. For
Right, and
sure.
it's people buy cars from the auction sometimes, and if you don't know a lot about how the auction works, don't do that, because if there's people out there that are good at buying cars from auctions, but they understand how the auction works. And I've had people where they went and bought cars from certain auctions and didn't even make it home with the car.
Yeah,
So
they got screwed.
yeah, so it's really important to make sure you get help if you don't know a lot about cars. But some of the things that we tell our clients is make sure the vehicle fits your needs. Make sure you're comfortable driving the vehicle.
Yeah.
Make sure you have no blind spots and you don't feel uncomfortable driving the vehicle. And then the second thing is to look at the inside of the vehicle. Make sure it's clean. Maybe lift up the carpet, see if there's any sand or anything underneath there. That's a telltale sign that the car was maybe in a flood, and you don't want to buy a car that's been in a flood.
Yeah, and they may run good now, but as soon as that salt water gets into the wiring harnesses and starts corroding the connectors.
Yeah, and that's you're just chasing it
man.
up for the rest of your life. You're chasing that
Absolutely.
problem. So yeah, it's definitely really important, and you can look at just basically how the vehicle was maintained from the outside, but we want to look on the inside and make sure that the car was maintained properly
Right.
too.
I found something out that was very surprising to me. I actually blue booked one of my own cars, and the lady says, "Well, to buy this vehicle, my bank wants to get a Carfax on it." So I started looking through the Carfax, which was I had nothing to hide,
Yep.
but I was shocked because we had actually put a new motor in this vehicle, and all said that we had done in that service was an oil change and a couple of other maintenance things. It didn't have the fact that I changed the motor in the car, and I'm like, what the hell? I was shocked that
Yeah.
this is a huge repair. I mean, that motor by itself was $3,000 worth of money that I had put into that vehicle to make the car right for someone to buy. And the only thing I had was my invoice, from purchasing the motor and
Right.
installing it and everything. But Carfax didn't report that, and I was kind of angered about that because I buy a lot of vehicles from people who've blown the engines or transmissions in their
Right.
vehicles, and I restore them back to a great state of health. And then it doesn't mention the things that were done, the major components like that. That's a huge deal.
Well, and I think Carfax is a great resource, but I mean it's not everything. You got to do a little bit more homework. And you were talking before we went on air here. You were talking about a situation with a customer. What happened with that deal?
Wow, we just had a young lady come in. She's actually a friend of one of my employees, and she bought an Oldsmobile Aurora, and she, did this private deal with somebody. She paid $2,000 for the thing, and the Aurora Sport Sedan. I own one, awesome car. It's got the Cadillac, North Star motor in it, 4.0, lots of horsepower, great looking car, very sporty, and it has a lot of curb appeal, a lot of eye appeal,
Yeah.
But she bought it because of the price. So she lays out $2,000. She just got laid off from her job, so this made the situation even worse.
Yeah, that's not.
And
not a
so
good
she
situation.
comes in and she says, "Yeah, about a day or two after I drove it, the car started overheating. So we put more coolant in it, and then it overheated again and overheated. And it keeps getting worse." And so at the end of the day, this thing actually needs an engine. It's got a cracked head on it. And this motor is so expensive to work on. I mean, if you were to replace the cylinder head and everything, you're looking at 15, 16 hours worth of labor just to take the heads off the thing and put them on. And they're aluminum, and obviously.
And the whole thing
She spent every dime she had buying this vehicle and got screwed.
Well, and it all could have been avoided if they would have just got you in the conversation.
Yep.
If they would have just called you and told you what they were going to do, you could have steered them down the right road to keep them from making the mistake. And like I had said earlier, people think, well, my old car, and you hear this all the time too, where customers say, yeah, I don't want to put any more money in this car. I'm getting rid of this car. It's just, it's too
Right.
much money and whatever. So they think they're going to buy another car, maybe a little newer car, and they're going to have less problems and they're not going to have to dump a lot of money into the new car. Well, what happens is if that newer car wasn't maintained properly or was driven like somebody stole it, or in a flood or whatever, they could put themselves in it right back where they are right now in actually worse shape. They instead of an upgrade, they got a downgrade.
Right. And I bought my Aurora because someone had overheated it and blew the motor, and it wasn't worth fixing. It was much less expensive for me to buy another motor, even though the motor cost me like $2,500
Yeah.
for a used motor to put in there. That was a cheaper option than tearing it down and doing the work myself and buying all the parts to try to fix it. And then it still can be a crapshoot with an aluminum motor, whether that's really going to work out the way you want it to.
Right, and then at least you know what you're getting. The thing of it is we just give you the information, and whether you want to buy the car still or not is up to you. But there's no surprises then. When you buy that vehicle, you know what you're going to have to do. There may be a list of things, or a lot of times you can go back to the seller and say, hey, look, these things need to be done on the car, and you really like the car and you still want to buy it. A lot of times they'll just do it.
Yeah.
For free and get it to where you're happy with it, and then you can buy it. but at least you didn't buy it, pay top dollar for it, and then have to dump a bunch of more money into it later on.
Right. So what we really want to do here is remove the emotion from the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
You're looking for a partner in life or whatever. You try to find the prettiest, sexiest, whatever out there, and that's oftentimes how we buy anything, right? You go to the store and, oh, this product looks so much prettier, and the colors or the whatever it is,
Yeah.
you're attracted, and your emotions get involved with your logical sense, right? How many out there have ever married the wrong person or dated the wrong person for a long period of time, went through a lot of suffering? What attracted you to that person in the first place? Your emotions, right? So
Yeah.
decisions in life have to be, there's nothing wrong with emotions, don't get me wrong. I'm a very emotional person. Nevertheless, when it comes to making decisions that are going to cost you a lot of your time, a lot of your money, a lot of your, life experience and everything else like that, you need to put the emotion aside and really look at things from a more logical perspective. And, so buying a car, is a huge one because, oh, I love this Mustang, I love this Camaro, or this hot rod looking car or whatever. And the last car I'd ever buy was a used Beamer.
Yeah. Well, and this whole thing is so important for you to have a good working relationship with your auto repair provider, because we can help you so much with that decision. So it doesn't have to be an emotional decision. We're
No,
going to look at
we
it.
take all the emotion out of it
Right.
for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's the facts, Jack.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Here's the facts, and we just want you to get the best deal possible, and we don't want you to be coming to our shop, every
Right.
other week with a different problem in the vehicle. So we want to make sure that and also you buy something that isn't super expensive to fix. Some cars out there, they're really expensive to fix, and we
That's why I mentioned the BMW, because people drive the crap out of them, beat them up, and then they find some young kid who's got it's eye candy to them. They see this BMW, oh yeah, man, it'll really look cool in this Beamer, and someone's beat the tar out of the thing, and now they buy it, and it needs $5,000-$7,000 worth of repairs in very little time, if not immediately.
Well, absolutely. You want to make sure that you just find something that is reliable, that's not that expensive to fix, and really get a vehicle that works for you and your family, whatever you're trying to accomplish. Maybe your work, maybe it's a work vehicle, whatever. You want to make sure that it works for you.
Right, and another thing that's really important in all of this is that even if you end up buying this vehicle and needs some repairs, you can use what it's going to cost to do as leverage to lower the price of what they're trying to sell it to you for.
Negotiate it. Yeah,
And you
absolutely.
and with the digital inspection, you can show the person. If they're not there, say, look, here's the car you're trying to sell me. It needs this, and this, which is never done. And if they're reasonable people, they're going to say, yeah, I guess I never did do that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I'll take $1,000 off or $2,000, depending on the price of the car and what it's really worth. And again, we can see telltale signs if something's been fixed. Believe me, everything that's in Carfax isn't everything that's ever happened to a car. Many body repair shops don't report to Carfax.
Or your uncle working in his backyard
Exactly.
fixing it. Yeah, absolutely.
Backyard auto repair, body repair, painting,
Yeah.
and it can look really good. The paint may look great and everything, but the structure that's underneath there is where the safety of the vehicle really comes into play. So if something's got, we've literally had vehicles come in here with baling wire, duct tape, and everything, all hidden into places, holding the bumpers into place when they were broken. We actually had a car come in that was a plug-in hybrid, and someone put a new fender on it. It was in a bad accident. They did a crappy job of fixing it. Well, what they did is they put a fender from a non-hybrid. So the place where you put the electrical plug was actually covered by a fender where there's supposed to be a hole in there to plug the thing in.
Wow.
It was covered. I mean, some of these things are so obvious, but how would the person who's about to buy that know that?
Right.
It says plug-in hybrid on the back of the vehicle, so if they've never owned one before, they don't know that there's a plug. It's supposed to be in the fender somewhere, either in the front. This would happen to be in the front fender. And we were laughing our butts off here because it said, hey, check this out. They put a fender over where the thing is supposed to plug in. So this person would have never been able to plug their car in. What the hell?
Yeah, and people do some crazy things to make the car look appealing and make it look good, but underneath it, it's a mess. And there again, we talk about safety because that car was designed to crumble a certain way in an accident. Well, if it's not put back to the way it was original, then it'll crumble differently, and somebody might just end up getting hurt out of it.
Right, and beware of airbag lights that are on.
Yeah.
In the dash. There's something wrong with the safety restraint system. And also, if you look at a vehicle that you're about to buy and it needs a windshield, some windshields are $300, $400, $600 depending on what kind of vehicle.
Thousand.
Exactly.
Yeah, some of them are 1,000. And then also, you brought up a good point about the lights. When you get in the car, turn the key just in the on position and look, make sure all the lights come up on the dash, because sometimes somebody will take the bulb out, or they'll do something, or the bulb doesn't work. And you want to make sure all your lights work, because if there is an underlying problem,
that airbag light should come off and on. The check engine light, or the picture of the engine should turn on and then turn off after the car is started.
That's a real simple thing. It's a real simple thing that you customers can do. And then if you see that the lights aren't coming on the dash, that's a really bad indication right there that there's a problem.
So what's a pre-purchase inspection run at most shops?
It runs anywhere. I've seen it anywhere from $100 to $150.
Okay, so if you're listening out there, $100 to $150. This young lady that I mentioned with the Oldsmobile that now has a blown engine is going to the junkyard. She spent $2,000. Now she could have spent $100 or $120 at my shop to have this inspection done, not spent the $2,000, and we would have helped coach her into finding a better car for herself. Yeah, $2,000. There's not a lot of $2,000 cars there, and there's a reason why, because the ones that are $2,000 are usually pieces of junk that someone's just trying to unload, make a couple of grand, and laugh all the way to the bank and give you,
Yeah, now you got nothing, and you got no recourse in most cases. In most cases, you buy as is, and once you buy it as is, that's what you're stuck with.
Yeah, and she just lost her job, so now the last $2,000 she had, she spent on this car that turned out to be a total fraud.
Yeah, that's too bad. That's
so
really too bad.
Help us to help you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what a good auto shop does. They're out to help customers. We want you here for the long term. I don't want to take your money and run. I want you to come to me. I will take great care of you. Dave will do the same thing. Any great shop will. They want to see you come in again and again and again over a period of time. Bring your family, bring your friends. Honest shops who really are concerned about their customer. Like we said, we are in the hospitality business, just like a hotel is. The way you get treated in a hotel is going to determine whether you're going to go back there again.
Well, we didn't talk about this really, but it's kind of off subject, not maybe completely off subject, but there's a lot less family-owned businesses out there especially in the auto repair industry.
True.
They've been bought out by big hedge funds and big investment companies. So
they're just in it for the money. They really don't care about auto repair. They care about dollars.
Well, and it's harder to build those relationships with them. But
because the owner who owns the corporation is never there.
Yeah,
they're on an island somewhere in the South Pacific,
right,
smoking cigars and drinking martinis.
Right, and so it's really important to build that relationship, and then let us, like Glenn said earlier, let us coach you. Let's coach you through it, and we can educate you and make sure that we can limit your chances of buying a really bad car.
Yeah, I mean, because there's less and less people who are in the automotive industry, people who are just purchasers of vehicles know less and less about what to look for, how to look for, and with the technologies that are in vehicles. A pre-purchase inspection is an absolute no-brainer and a must-do.
Absolutely. I wouldn't buy a vehicle, even what I know about a vehicle. I wouldn't go to a lot and just buy a vehicle. I would make sure that it was up on the lift and we had a chance to look underneath it.
Absolutely, and that's what's really important. We can tell if a car's been, sitting in a salt bath somewhere in a flood or whatever, just by looking at telltale signs underneath. If the car is, not from somewhere where there's salt on the road and there's rust going on underneath the thing.
We don't have to deal with the rust out here, but back east they do too. That's a huge problem. And when the car starts to rust out, next thing you know, you stomp your foot on to step on the brake or whatever, and your foot goes through the floor. That's not a good thing either.
That or the frame can be rotting off. In fact, there was just a big recall by I believe it was Ford this week on I believe it was the Ford Escape. The body is rotting off in the eastern country where there's salt. And the actual rear differential, or the support beam that holds the rear wheels on,
it's coming off.
The
wheels coming off. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another thing is check the recalls. And you brought up I'm glad you said that, Glenn, because I had a customer in there with I believe it was a Hyundai, and they were having some issues with the engine, but there's a update for the computer. And if you go in and get that update for the computer, the engine's warranted. So, but if you don't go in and get the update, the engine's not warranted. So if you're buying a new vehicle, or used vehicle, I should say, make sure that there is no software updates. Make sure that there's no recalls or something that you need to do to basically protect the warranty on the vehicle and make sure that you don't have a problem down the road. And we've had two of our customers with that particular motor, and we made sure that we got them both updated. So the update is supposed to help protect the engine, but if it does or it doesn't matter. It's covered.
Right. So, hey, we want to thank you again for joining us in this podcast. And if you're enjoying this and you want to share it with somebody else, or you just want to stay on the podcast, you can either subscribe or hit like, and it will be on your list of fun podcasts to listen to. And believe me, we've got hundreds of subjects to talk about in the future. Some of them may or may not be automotive related. Most of them will be. But again, we're not trying to teach you how to fix cars. We're trying to help you to be a wise consumer.
Absolutely.